Hello. This video is formatted closer to a podcast than a standard video. While you might occasionally need to take a look at the video when I'm discussing a graphic or a transcription that I have up on screen, you're not really going to need to actively watch it for the whole duration to be able to follow along with what's being discussed. This is the third episode in a series of 4 case studies containing content I am re-uploading from a previous channel. These videos were originally recorded and posted online from September to November of 2023 inclusive, and they are a set of, I guess you could call them, analysis videos where I discussed HFGCS traffic broadcast around that time, the impression that I got when I listened to a set of EAMs or FDMs covering either messages broadcast in just a few days or an extended period of time up to a couple of weeks, and my thoughts on how those messages that were broadcast did or did not relate to questions that I was getting around the time. And while these are re-uploads of videos from September, October, November of 2023. As I record this introduction, it's now May of 2024. The questions back then are very similar to the questions that I'm getting right now, and I'm sure it'll be quite similar to the questions I get if I'm still doing this a year from now, 2 years from now, from anyone who's new to this topic. So even though it's old information, it is still relevant. Now, each of these videos is being re-uploaded with the express purpose of including them all on a single YouTube channel, the Neat Intel project channel that you are tuned to right now, but it also provides an opportunity to frame them to more explicitly answer these questions. So for example, the first video tackles a question about whether any EAMs broadcast in September of 2023 appeared to be related to an F-35 crash around that time, and my impression was, no, probably not. The second video, I've structured it to more directly tackle a question about whether any EAMs broadcast in early October 2023 appeared to be related to a start of a war between Israel and Palestine that started on October 7th, 2023, and as of May 2024 is still ongoing. And my answer about EAMs in October 2023 potentially being related to that war is the same as my answer to whether any EAMs broadcast in May of 2024 are related to the still ongoing event. I don't think so. It does not seem to me like any of these messages are related to that activity. Now, if those are the questions that you find yourself asking, and those answers are either something you'd be interested in hearing elaboration on that, or you disagree and you want to understand how on earth do I come to that conclusion, I would very much encourage you to watch those videos as well. Either before or after this one is fine. It's not necessarily building off each other. And you may also be interested in following up to watch part 4 of this series when it's uploaded. If it's not already out when you happen to be watching this, it should be out within the week. Now, after 2 videos where the answer to your questions is pretty much no, probably not, today's video is, at least in theory, more exciting. I say in theory because the answer is going to be yes, but the way we get to that yes in response to the question is fairly dry, just literally looking at letters in EAMs, very mundane analysis. But the analysis is, well, in November of 2023, I felt that I found a set of EAMs that correlated to the start and end dates of NATO Operation Steadfast Noon 2023. In other words, I thought a NATO operation did affect EAM traffic. Now, I want to point out that this answer is different from what you might hear from other people. Incidentally, I recently put out a YouTube short questioning a person known as First Token or Zabastov. They are a regular of the U20 SDR chat box, and I've seen them on a number of shortwave message boards. When I used to participate in the EAM.wash Discord, I used to see them there, and they recently claimed that there was a notable increase in the number of Skymaster events starting in early 2023. If you watch that short, if you follow me on Twitter, Neat Intel, you know that I would have thought that was nonsense, so that's why I put that short out. And very much along the same lines, the U20 SDR chat box has for a very long time claimed that NATO exercises never, ever, ever, not once have influenced HFGCS traffic, and I think I've found at least one instance where they're wrong, and it makes me think they're probably wrong about the past as well. So as you can tell, the conclusion I felt I made in November of 2023 is one I still stand by in May of 2024. And again, while the analysis is not going to be the most riveting thing you've ever heard in your life, it serves as a case study of an analysis with a conclusion that I believe is consistent and also compelling, pointing out relatively unique features in messages broadcast on the start and end dates of a NATO military operation, and given it was a military operation with nuclear elements and what we know about the HFGCS, it doesn't take a large leap of faith to make the connection there, on top of the things that I will point out with respect to the messages that I believe are connected to it. So after the jump, as discussed, the analysis reupload is included here, and just for, I guess, historical context, it was originally uploaded to the internet on November 13th of 2023, and it regards messages broadcast on the HFGCS on the 11th, 16th, and 26th of October 2023. It is Monday, November 13th, 2023. I was feeling a little bit under the weather today, so this video is going to be short and sweet. I was actually very, very sick last week. I had the flu, so I'm a little bit behind on content generation for this project. And today's video is going to be short because I know I've still got kind of like a flu-like tinge to my voice, and I don't know how good that is to listen to for long periods of time. It's probably really annoying. So just something short. I'm actually going to be talking about something that happened last month in this video, and there's a reason I kind of waited, and I'll explain why as we get into it. But last month was a annual NATO exercise. It ran from October 16th through to 26th, Steadfast Noon. This is, like I just said, it's an annual planned exercise. It's put together by NATO basically to rehearse nuclear war. And I believe this case it involved some fighter jets over the Mediterranean and Adriatic and kind of southern Europe, I think. There was some stuff going on there. And one question that kind of comes up in the context of what we're doing here with monitoring the HFGCS is, do we expect these exercises or any exercises like it to affect traffic? You know, do we see more messages? Do we see less messages? What exactly happens? And the answer that I was given in the past, and the answer that I gave this year based on the experience I had listening last year, is probably not. Last year in 2022 didn't notice any significant difference in message traffic or type or like really anything that stuck out to me. So that's kind of the answer I gave. However, nonetheless, if you guys were subscribed to Neat Intel or you guys follow me on my Twitter account, Neat Intel, you probably saw in the daily time cards I put for that period of time a little informational box on there saying, you know, NATO Operation Steadfast Noon is going on right now. And I did that not because I was expecting something to happen, but just for kind of one of those almost like confirmation bias things, or just to make it easier for myself or anyone else who ends up looking at these time cards in the future to say, oh yeah, this was during that operation. So if anyone ever wants to know, you know, does message traffic change during these exercises? Here's that period. Again, October 16th through to the 26th. I can point to them and they can take a look for themselves and they can make their own determination about whether message traffic changes or not. And pretty much I was thinking as this thing is going on, you know, I'm not seeing anything major with message traffic. I'm not seeing a major uptick. I'm not seeing a downtick. It looks about the same. And then there was something that I noticed. So obviously things do happen. And one of the things that I like to make a big deal of with this project is the 2-letter message prefix at the start of the messages, because I believe that's what to use to possibly use to indicate priority, maybe used to indicate which cipher to use to decode the messages, maybe a way of indicating the audience, you know, the target of a direct message, things like that, because obviously we do see those 2-letter prefixes shared for messages. If you guys see my end-of-month reports, you'll often see, you know, there's a way of grouping these types of prefixes together. They get rotated in and out. And it's almost like there's different levels or classes, and I'll probably make another dedicated video about that in the future, though it's certainly something I've talked about here and there in other videos in the past and kind of coming up again here today. But anyways, what we saw, or rather what I realized on the very last day was, oh hey, there are these messages with this prefix Yankee India that I've been making a big deal of, and whoa, wouldn't you notice that they've been broadcast on 2 days, October 16th and October 26th. And I made some tweets about it, kind of pointing out some structural things, but the main thing, you know, you can kind of take a look for yourself with this time card that I'll put up on the screen. Well, you can tell for the messages of similar character lengths that the messages have these similar repeating sequences. In some cases, these sequences are 3 letters long. In other cases, are 2 letters long. And you can kind of line it up based on how long the message is. And you can tell from the 16th and the 26th, there's similarly structured messages. So the question would be, oh my goodness, there were these, Yankee India messages on the 16th and on the 26th. That's exactly when the operation started and ended. So maybe these messages are related to that exercise. I actually think that's a fair hypothesis, and that's actually what I want to leave you guys to kind of chew on. The question next time, do we see messages that relate to these exercises? I think the answer going from now on is going to be maybe. However, I do want to acknowledge two things. First off, I'm not hiding it from you. On October 11th, so, just short of a week before the exercise started, we did have 332 character messages with the Yankee India prefix. They were structured. They had repeating 3 character sequences in there. They look similar to some of the other messages that were broadcast. There are 32 characters. One, the 26th, for example, is quite similar to that one. I personally don't think using a prefix before its associated exercise takes effect would be invalidating the theory. I think maybe these messages on the 11th were kind of setting up the parameters for what these messages would look like, or maybe these are actually like the code, or just some kind of like preparatory thing, and that's why they came out. And that is around the time the exercise was being announced in press releases and stuff. Obviously, these are planned in advance. Again, these are annual. We can expect a Steadfast Noon 2024, 2025, probably up until they announce, they're either changing the name or NATO is dissolved or whatever. You understand what I'm trying to say. I don't think that on its own would invalidate it. You're free to disagree, of course. The thing I would think that would invalidate it, however, were to be if, for example, 2 days later on October 28th or November 1st or something, after the exercises ended, we saw another message with the Yankee India prefix. That would, to me, say, well, they probably are not related to each other then. And that's actually why I've kind of waited. I actually was going to wait a whole month. I was going to wait until November 26th to say, it's been a while. There have been no more Yankee India messages. I feel pretty confident concluding these are related to the Steadfast Noon exercise. Again, today's November 13th. So it's been a bit. And maybe tomorrow, just to spite me, the United States military will broadcast a Yankee India message. But I do think it's been more or less long enough that we can conclude there will be no more Yankee India prefix messages. So the question now would be whether you do think these are related to that exercise. Were they announcing the start and end or something like that? You're free to, disagree if you feel like a message is being broadcast on the 11th invalidated. I really don't think it does. And you could also say, maybe this is a coincidence. But I think it is something to consider. And, next year or the year after, when folks ask you, do Steadfast Noon exercises influence HFGCS messages? I think from now on, the answer might be, yeah, maybe they just might do it. And this would kind of be the example you would point to. Or, you could point to this and say, this is the most anyone's been able to pull together to suggest an association, and basically it's just circumstantial coincidence and a lot of, paranoid-looking boxes drawn across a bunch of messages. You're free to make that conclusion as well. I won't agree with you, but you're free to make that conclusion. So that's it for this video. It is shorter than usual. And I want to give a shout out this time because I'm always forgetting to everyone who has sponsored this project over the last, few months. Obviously always, but, to my Patreon folks and the folks on Buy Me a Coffee, thank you guys very much. And I'll put up, your names here. That'll be pretty much it for this video because I already know I have to edit out a lot of coughing and stuff because, as I mentioned at the top, I am still feeling a little bit unwell. Hello again, this is now me in May 2024 with a brief administrative afterword. I decided not to omit from the end of the reupload an acknowledgement to the people who were sponsoring the NEAT Intel project at the time of its upload. Most of them actually happen to still be active sponsors, but for the ones who aren't, it would feel a little bit awkward to cut them out because they were sponsors at the time the content was generated. However, just to smooth out any chance of confusion, I will now take this as an opportunity to to acknowledge the current active sponsors as of May 3rd, 2024. So on Patreon, I would like to thank Paul R., Chris K., Procos, Espresso, Rick, David, Rodney WB, and Yellowbird. On Buy Me a Coffee, recent sponsors have included PR and Kelly. And on YouTube, I would like to thank Up North, Sina Veritas, Nunya Business, Dat Silencer, Bozo Mori, Ron S., Yo Cassie, Welcome to Redneckistan, Mark L., Joe Blue, Reaper One, as well as Jaded. I would also like to thank Up North, The Swiller, and Otto for helping moderate the chat boxes during the live stream the last few weeks. Finally, before this video ends, if you're someone who has listened to the end of this video and this kind of analysis is something that you found interesting and may actually be interested in assisting with either monitoring, transcribing, or analyzing EAMs in this fashion, the Zhang Wanyang Skymaster Surveillance Committee is a Discord server I set up at the beginning of 2024. While it was originally set up with a very specific purpose of anticipating and monitoring Skymaster events, I've decided to open its focus up a little bit to just generally covering the HFGCS on all fronts throughout the year. So things such as what was discussed in this video are well within the scope of what I would like to see discussed on that server. It's been fairly slow. I don't expect it to become the world's most active server by any means, but it is available to you if you are interested. Again, I'd like to thank everyone who's watched this video to the end, and for those interested, depending on when you're watching this, case study 4 may already be out, but if you're watching this closer to the time this video is being posted online, you can expect part 4 to be posted within the next week or so, worst case scenario. That's it for me today, and until next time, I guess, bye.